Okay, good. So, hello everyone. My name is Oliver Bertschinger. I'm the Managing Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Switzerland, Central Europe. I'd like to welcome you very much in the name of all 12 organizing chambers of commerce. We had a small little hiccup at the start. So I'm a little bit nervous here, but I'm really great to have Stefan here today with us talking about what Digital Switzerland is doing to make Switzerland an innovative digital hub in the world. So I'm really looking forward to that, to his speech. I wanted to quickly co-share my slide once more because it's very important that I mention to you, as always, that we are not doing this by ourselves. This is really a co-production of 12 chambers of commerce across the region. So from the one in the Baltics to the Swiss Chamber Poland, to the Chamber of Commerce Switzerland, Czech Republic, the one in the Slovak Republic, in Hungary. So I have to say actually Czechia and Slovakia, then the Swiss Chamber Hungary, then we got the chamber in Romania, Croatian Business Club, the Swiss Urban Chamber of Commerce, the Bulgarian Swiss Chamber of Commerce in Sofia, and newly our new members from the Swiss Kosovo Business Association, the Swiss Albanian Chamber of Commerce, and the North Macedonian Business Club. I'm not always reading them, but it's important that these are really your friends to facilitate business and societal relationships between Switzerland and the region, as much as we are doing this from SEC, my Chamber of Commerce in Switzerland. So thanks a lot to my partners. Today, as usual, I give you a little bit of rules or whatever, some information. We will have about 30 minutes with Stefan's speech. Then we have a very hopefully an open questions and answers. You are, of course, on mute and you don't have any video. We will try to end on time. No, we will actually end on time, which will be 11:45. If there are questions left, we might still answer them depending on the time of Stefan. If you have any insights, if you want to say hello to everybody where you're at, use the chat function. If you have a question, please use the Q&A button. At the end, you will receive the slides and all contact details in our follow-up email. You can also rewatch the session on our YouTube channel. So, without further ado, Stefan is the CEO of Digital Switzerland for the last, well, 1-2 years. You will be able to explain that better than me. You have a long leading role in the Swiss IT business. It's all on our flyer. So not wanting to waste more time, passing it over to you. Maybe you want to say a couple of words to your background, Stefan. And thanks a lot again to support our Swiss Impulse session here. Thanks a lot.
Okay, do you want me to share the slides, Oliver, or?
Please, yes, of course.
Yeah, okay. So let me do that. You should be able to see them, right? Okay, perfect. Yes. Thank you very much, Oliver, for introducing me so nicely. It's my pleasure and my honor actually to speak to you this morning. Some background on me. As already mentioned, I have a long background in IT. Also, my original background is insurance. So I'm an insurance guy, but I spent more than 25 years in various roles. I was at IBM for a long time. And in my time at IBM, I was for 2 or 3 years also responsible for the banking and insurance consulting business in CEE. So traveling a lot in your countries, mainly Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, Romania, and many other countries as well. And I really liked it a lot. The reason why I stopped that is because I had a 5-year-old daughter, who didn't like too much when I was just on the road traveling for 4 days a week. So I left IBM and joined Cognizant as the country managing director in Switzerland, more local focus. But I must say, I really liked a lot traveling in your countries at that time. Since January 1st, 2022, so a little bit more than a year, I have been the CEO of Digital Switzerland, which is an initiative to aiming at making and transforming Switzerland into a leading digital nation. And this aim also means that we are not a leading digital nation today. At least we perceive it as not being leading in digital. And I will come to that, back to that later. Now, some of the characteristics, I don't want to spend too much time on that, just give a little bit of context. We do have 8.6 million people. Switzerland is one of the countries with the highest immigration number in Europe. 23% or so of the Swiss population are non-Swiss. We have a lot of refugees from Ukraine that we are happy to welcome and to kind of give safety, but also many others. So the number is about to grow to 9 million very soon. We do have 4 national languages: German, which is the biggest portion, Italian, French, as well as Romansh, which is only spoken by 0.5% of the population in the country. We have this direct democracy, so the highest political instance in our country is the voters. It's not the government, it's not the president, it's not the parliament, it is us, the voters, and we can, on average 4 times a year, we can vote on various laws, various initiatives that are related to the country. Federalism is very important, so a lot of power lies in the canton, which is comparable to the states in other countries. So that there is this kind of distribution of power, which makes Switzerland, at the end of the day, very stable. So the 3 separation of power I already mentioned. We have the parliament, we have the government, and we have the courts. We have also the 4th power, which is the media, very strong. And this is good that it's a free media that is very strong and actually challenging the different institutions very, very heavily all the time. On the business environment, this we have the 2nd highest gross domestic product per capita in the world. So Switzerland is seen as very rich, very wealthy. The economic performance is largely driven by the services sector, so 74%. So we are not famous for a lot of production, or many heavy metal industries like cars, but we are a service-oriented economy, which is very important. Like 3/4 is really service. We are the main, and this is vice versa, trading partner of the European Union, although we are not a member of the EU. And I don't want to open this discussion. This is the Swiss people. They dislike a lot central command and control. And this explains to some extent why Switzerland, this was a decision by the voters, by the way, has not joined the European Free Trade Association, but is also not a member of the EU. And it's unlikely that we will ever become a member of the EU, focusing on our independence, but being aware at the same time that we are the trade is quite dominant with the European Union. But then also a large spend on research and development. Now, Switzerland is one of the most competitive countries in the world. And you see the different ranks across the various criteria. Where we are performing very low is international investment. So we are not very investor friendly for foreign investors. So this is one of the points that we need to focus on, especially when it comes to investing into startups. Of course, the price level, and this is known, Switzerland is very, very expensive. It is also explainable with quite high salaries that we have, but also some other things. Switzerland is very, very expensive. This is one of the criteria that pull us down, but overall ranking is still of course very, very, very good, being number 2 in terms of competitiveness globally. And this is what you see, different rankings. We have a talent ranking where we are number 1, competitiveness where we are number 2, and then we have the digital competitiveness, and this is what I will talk about in the next 25 or so minutes. As the title of my presentation indicates, transforming Switzerland into a leading digital nation. I also said, as what I mentioned at the beginning, we are not a leading digital nation today. Although the ranking that I'm referring to now shows us on position number 5 or 6, which kind of might sound a little bit strange when we say we are not digitally leading, but I will come to that. So what does the digital maturity actually, what does it, how is it measured? This is very important. And we have, as an organization, looked into different rankings that are published every year. One, for instance, by the European Union, another one by the World Economic Forum. But the most comprehensive and the most detailed is coming from IMD Business School, which I'm referring today, and also this is the basis for all our activities that we do. So what the IMD competitiveness ranking actually does, there are 63 economies are compared globally. About 52 different criteria in the area of knowledge, technology, and future readiness. And this is so these criteria are measured against each other or weighted, and this creates finally a ranking of where a country stands in terms of digital maturity. You see, this is all rankings here. You see Switzerland on the top line in the middle. Number 5, according to the 2022 survey. You also see the leading country in terms of digital maturity is Denmark, followed by the US, followed by Sweden, Singapore, and so on and so forth. You see some of the CEE countries, Slovenia, Czech Republic, number 33. And this does not mean that these countries, this is the overall ranking, but there are great examples of where for certain criteria, countries are even leading. Let me give you an example. There is, in terms of e-government, the leading country in terms of e-government is Estonia. Compared to Switzerland, they are far ahead of Switzerland when it comes to e-government, when it comes to digitalizing the public or the government transactions. So Estonia is really the role model, and we have invited our friends from Estonia more than once to show us how they do it. And some countries are advanced in other areas. This is just the overall ranking. Here you see the trend. I don't go into details here. Important to mention is that the US was leading the pack for 8 years or so, but lost the first place in 2022 to Denmark. Denmark, by the way, one of the leading countries when it comes to digital health. So the healthcare system in Denmark, when it comes to digitalization, is really great. You see many northern countries, Scandinavian countries in the top 10, which also is very interesting to see. More details on the country profile. What we basically took, we looked into all these details because we said, what does it mean for us? Being number 5 is just the ranking that we have currently, but we were more interested in how are the future-looking trends? Where is Switzerland performing there? And we finally found out that there is room for improvement. So the reason why Digital Switzerland exists is not because we are number five globally, because then you could say an organization like ours doesn't need to exist because it's all fine. And as we are, I would say, quite paranoid on this thing, and we also see the glass half empty rather than half full. We say, number 5, this is good, but there is no reason to believe that we will remain at this level, and I will show you why. The second point is that the digitalization is the foundation for future wealth as well as future jobs. And if we don't put our act together, and if we don't make a good job in that, and if we losing ground over time, we will definitely also see an impact rather sooner than later on the overall economic wealth of the country. What you see here, the 6 different bubbles, this is where we don't really perform well. For instance, in the area of knowledge, female researchers, we only ranked at position 33. In technology, starting a business, rank 37, compared to Estonia, where it is very easy to even create a business from outside Estonia, a business in Estonia. Switzerland is not doing well here. You also see wireless broadband rank 38. This is very much related to the political debates that we have around 5G. So we have improved in that area, but it's not really at a good ranking. E-government, not very good. Use of data and analytics. So you see many areas that are very much pointing to future readiness, Switzerland is not doing well. And this is basically why Digital Switzerland comes in. And what I would like to show you now is the philosophy. We are an association that is member financed. So we don't get one single Swiss franc from the government. All our members, we do have 200 plus members that finance our association. And we are basically orchestrating the digital transformation on behalf of our members, together with our members, for our members and for the overall economy. So we are a catalyst for those who drive forward transformation, and we support them all. We promote inclusive transformation, which means when it comes to the population, we want to avoid the digital kind of that people, some people or a group of the population is left behind. And so this is where we focus: inclusiveness, a catalyst, orchestrator, bring together, but also a very strong voice for digitalization. Our fields of activities, and these fields of activities are driven by the strategy, and they are linked back to those areas where Switzerland is not performing well in the digital competitiveness ranking. So these are the criteria. Number 1, people, culture, mindset. This is about inclusion. It is about the view of our population in Switzerland towards digitalization. Is it seen as a threat, or is it seen as an opportunity? Clearly, we see it as an opportunity. We see it as the foundation of future wealth and jobs. And we are pushing hard, to convince the Swiss population that this is the case. There is still a lot of skepticism around, and that we are really trying to address. And one example is the Swiss Digital Days. This is it's a series of events. For instance, last year we toured through 19 different locations in the country, visiting during 7 weeks. We did about 300 different activities involving the population. For instance, there was a female hackathon. There was also, we worked with kids on various activities. We did a green tech startup battle, and again another 297 additional activities to really mobilize, involve the population with the goal to kind of bring them digitalization closer. education, talent, and research. This is the issue that we have there. We have a very, very strong, very good, well-working education system, a very high level of education in the country. However, we do lack 35,800 digital specialists today, and this gap is increasing every day. Despite the great system that we have, we do not manage to really develop the right number of talent that the economy is using today, or needs today and will need in the future. And here, three main focus areas. One is on education, on kids. How can we make sure that kids get passionate about technology, that they consider going into technology for their education? On the other hand, what the activities around keeping people longer in the labor market. So this means that we call it lifelong learning, to make sure that even people above 55, 60 do have an expertise and skills that are needed in the market and demanded by the market. And the third topic, where Switzerland is not very well on the way, is women in tech. So we still have only 20% of the tech professions are occupied by women, which is far enough. And this is not a problem of the women, but it's more a problem of the structure that we are addressing. Then we have visibility, network, and collaboration. I will show you a couple of examples, ecosystem examples going forward. Infrastructure and security. This is important to address topics like national data rooms, national critical infrastructure, questions around cloud, and very, very important questions around cybersecurity, where we work very closely with the Swiss Army, with the police, the different cantonal police departments, but also the private economy, where we have many, not only startups, but very high-profile companies focusing on cybersecurity topic. Politico-economic is really to educate politics and to drive digitalization into politics as well. We try to influence some of the legislation processes towards digitalization, or make them digital friendly. One topic is digital first. It is a big topic in the federal government. And last but not least is number 6, administration and e-government. I mentioned that before, that Switzerland is not really doing well. And so these 6, what we call focus areas, are areas where we need to improve in order to keep our ranking. And this is basically where we focus on. Now, let me show you a couple of examples, because I also said, for the ecosystem, or part of the message here is for the ecosystem to the ecosystem. And this is points mainly to the focus area of visibility, network, and collaboration. This is basically addressing the following point. There are challenges out there where one company, one academic institution, or one area of the administration cannot address the challenge alone. So where we need a lot of collaboration, a lot of coordination, and a lot of agreement across an ecosystem. And this is basically what we do. One example is, and I will show that in more detail, is digital health. Another one is in the area of sustainability. A third one is in the area of cybersecurity as well. Now, let me give you the first topic, the first case. It is an initiative that we founded back in 2019. It's called Swiss Digital Initiative, and what it basically is, it is to create what we call a digital trust label, which is a label where you can, as a company, you can actually have some services audited around the question: how is this ethically well designed, what is happening to your data, and so on and so forth. Because and there is a lot of skepticism in the population, but also in the economy, whether is everything that comes as digital, is it really based on ethical standards? And this is what we do. We founded this digital initiative together with academic institutions with strong support from the federal government. So we had the president is former Minister Doris Leuthard. We had also the patronage when we founded the initiative was the federal councillor Uli Maurer, who just left the government end of December. And basically, you see it on this slide here, digital trust label. It's kind of a quality stamp saying that a service is secure. It's based on the latest data protection practices and laws. It's reliable, and it deals with fair user interaction. And this is basically a label that not we as Digital Switzerland, it's done by the STI. This is a foundation. After the launch, we actually moved the whole initiative to a foundation to make it independent. But it's basically a trust level that we or a trust label that is very important also for many companies actually to show. And here you see EPFL, SGS, Digital Switzerland, the Swiss Federation or the Confederation are behind that, and the aim is really to make this an international standard. This is also the reason why it was founded at the World Economic Forum 2019, and you see the board members, famous people from various companies, academic institutions, as well as former representatives of the Swiss Confederation. That's just one example. You see some of the customers that have already labeled their services, like Swisscom, Swiss Re, also international companies like People Week. And then we have some companies that are committed to be labeled in 2022, 2023. And this list is growing. And this is also which might be of interest for companies in your countries as well to really become part and get this trust label given. The second example is sustainability. Here we do have two major trends. And by the way, this is in line with major trends that are related to sustainability overall. One is carbon emissions, and especially when it comes to kind of measuring the carbon footprint, which is on the agenda of all companies today. And the other one is biodiversity, which is a very important topic going forward. Digital Switzerland focuses on both, always with the aim of not doing something that is already existing, but bringing initiatives together, work with our members, work with academic institutions, really build this ecosystem to jointly address a challenge that cannot be addressed by one specific institution or company. This is basically what it is. Here, I would like to focus on what we call and focus on the carbon emission side and what we do here. So the challenge when it comes to measuring greenhouse gas emissions for many companies is that they do have pretty good understanding of the emissions created by the company in their own company boundaries. However, when it comes to measuring and reporting the footprint across the whole value chain of a company, which includes the raw materials that are coming from somewhere, which also includes the emissions that are created by a product or services after it has left the factory. So to really have this end-to-end view, there is the problem that the data is not standardized, and not being standardized, there are different data sources, and it's very difficult, if not impossible, for a company to have a clear understanding and not even ready to report these and to compare these data with their peers. So we have created the Wiser Consortia, which is actually building a kind of an accounting system for greenhouse gas emissions. You see that on the bottom, the WISER initiative. We are working with academic institutions. We are working with partners, with our members to really build this system. And the system was when we went to an institution to get some government funding. We didn't get direct government funding, but there is an organization on behalf of the government called InnoSwiss, which was attracted by this initiative, which we want to make a global standard as well. And we got some funding from them as well, and working closely with these partners now on developing the system. You see the ecosystem here. It's basically very simple: creating reliable greenhouse gas data, enabling large-scale climate strategies. In order to enable large-scale strategies, you need to understand the data. You need to have the data standardized. You need to have the data also comparable. And this is what the system does. You see the ecosystem of our partners here, ZAJW, the city of Lausanne, ABB, EY, IMPA, which is a research company, all these different partners. And I said, again, the title, from the ecosystem to the ecosystem, this is to bring these parties together and to develop that system. Number 3, digital health. I mentioned before, Denmark is known for a very, very strong, well-developed digital health system that goes end-to-end. This is not the case in Switzerland. We have huge cost. 83 billion Swiss francs is actually the cost for the healthcare system in Switzerland every year. There are many kind of media breaches in between, from the doctors, from the patients to the doctors, to the hospitals, to the therapists, and finally to the payers, the health insurance companies, and also the Swiss Office of Federal Help, or the Public Office of Federal Help, also playing a very important role in the whole thing. So what we basically did, in order to digitalize, you need to have an end-to-end view. You need to have all the partners at the table, and this is what we basically did. What are the challenges? So lack of national guidelines. So the Swiss Office of Public Health is really not being in a lead here. Then the patient's lack of trust in digitalization and fear of data storage. So there's a lot of education that needs to be done. First, understand what the concerns are. Then the health and digital literacy, which links back to the same challenge. Then data interoperability. There is no digital health record today in Switzerland, which is a standard, and Denmark has one, and other countries as well. And then also the legal framework for an integrated smart solution is missing. So these challenges call for an ecosystem approach for bringing all the different partners together. And this is what we did. As you can see here, we have actually managed to bring leading experts together, representing patients, representing the pharma industry, representing the Federal Office of Public Health, hospitals, other key players in this industry, including service providers, technology providers, health insurance, and so on and so forth. And this group, it's growing, by the way, is working very closely together to put the act together for making a big step in terms of digitalizing the Swiss healthcare system. The principles are very, very simple. Core values. It's based end-to-end. This is very important. All the parties are connected to the system. It's collaborative. It's patient-centric. Very important. There is the system has to focus on the patients and the patient's needs. Then identity is more how we position it. And the consortia approaches is really, as I said before, representing all actors and existing solutions, and to bring that together. Only with this approach, we can really get to a good outcome of it. We started with a population survey because it all needs to understand what do the people believe, what do they fear, what are their concerns. So we had a very far-reaching population survey, which resulted in a study. So we have a pretty good understanding from a patient perspective. And this is how the starting point, when we talk about digitalization, the healthcare infrastructure, we always put the patient needs and concerns into the center of our activities. We also have built, and this is a first cut, it will be further developed, a patient journey ecosystem map. So what are the players? How are they connected to? All with the view from a patient's perspective. And this is very important. When we want to digitalize the whole system, you need to understand not only what the patient's needs are, but also what are the different players in the market. And the role of Digital Switzerland is not creating a new initiative, but to bring the initiatives together, to bring the different players together, to orchestrate, to collaborate, and to enable, and last but not least, also to accelerate, because we have there have been discussions around digital health for last 15 years or so, but there was no big progress on that, which links back to actually what I said at the beginning. If we continue like that, and if we don't make a huge jump in the direction of digital health, we will lose ground and we will lose further ranks going forward. So these three examples, one is the activities around Swiss Digital Trust Label. The other one on WISER, this greenhouse gas emission accounting system that we are building. And last but not least, the digital health are examples where Digital Switzerland is leading, is really driving the whole process to make digitalization or Switzerland a leading digital nation. Besides all activities around working with the population, digital days, doing political lobbying. So we really take an end-to-end view, trying to address all the different topics that are essential to make Switzerland a leading digital nation. Now, let me quickly, before I stop, what is in for you? We have, and this is important, we are in discussions with a number of countries, even in CEE, Serbia. There are very close links with Serbia, who have, we are in constant contact with the digital initiative in Serbia. There was also the digital days was kind of exported to Serbia. And we are open to work on as part of our international initiative on really kind of exporting what works well to other countries. At the same time, we are carefully listening to what is going on in other countries, like Estonia, for instance. They can learn a lot about the way e-government has been implemented in your countries, and there are various examples where we can learn in the same way as we can maybe export some of our initiatives to you guys as well. So this brings me to an end. Thank you very much for listening to me, and back to you, Oliver. Now I cannot hear you. I'm not sure about the others. Still not. You are on mute, at least. Yeah.
Good. So,
okay.
Old man and technology. We didn't talk about. Well, you said people are over 50 should still be able to kind of like manage their headsets, but I'll be working on that. So, Stefan, thanks a lot for this highly interesting chat. I wanted to just say one or two words here. You talked about foreign direct investment being a problem. Of course, you talk about incoming foreign direct investment. I used to be in charge for 60% of that for Switzerland in one day. I know what the problems are, but where we are number one globally is outgoing foreign direct investment. So for the audience, maybe 4.5% of all global foreign direct investments are controlled out of Switzerland, which is huge because we only have 0.1% of the global population. What I also wanted to say is our chamber, and I think many of my colleague chambers, we strongly focus on IT. We feel that there is so much going on and there's huge opportunities also in collaboration between Switzerland and Central Eastern Europe, and business processes outsourcing. So that's why actually even our chamber is trying to leverage this as a very strong point of collaboration between the regions. So I'm very happy to learn that also Digital Switzerland is reaching out to Central Eastern Europe and other countries to collaborate. So anyway, if I invite everybody to ask a question using the Q&A button, we have a couple of them, so I might read them to Stefan. So the first question comes from Mela Ademovic. So sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. 3 questions. Is the aim that digital label becomes something like ISO standard?
This is, yeah, we are working with high ambitions. So the answer is yes. Whether it's ISO standard, we want to make it a global standard. That's basically what the goal is. Yes, and ISO is of course the most prominent standard organization in that respect.
Okay, then we have a second question then from Sonela, but we go to Laszlo. Here, yes, what are the connecting points of Swiss digitalization and CE national digitization?
Yeah, so basically it is very country specific. I mentioned 2 examples, Serbia and Estonia, where we have very strong links. Into other countries, it's a little bit less, but we are very open. We have a person in our organization dealing with the international relations. So if you have any interests in that, you can certainly reach out to me, and I can connect you with the right people in our organization. So again, it's not an established kind of mature relationship, but very much based on country to country relations then.
And I also wanted to mention that if it's really on the company level, so if a company wants to really do more business in Switzerland, or a Swiss company wants to do more business in the region, now not talking about this very more umbrella things which are hugely important, then of course also the Chambers of Commerce support in facilitating you guys finding, for example, clients in Switzerland. So Sanella has a second question. Thank you very much. Taking a small enterprise as an example, what would it cost to get a digital label?
Frankly, I cannot give you a dollar or Swiss franc amount. It depends really on the service and not so much on the size of the company, because what you certify services and not whole companies. And therefore I cannot give you an answer, but I can of course connect you. If you send me an email, I can connect you with the necessary people in the organization to give you a more concrete information on the cost.
Okay, as usual, we will stop the impulse session now officially, but we have lots of questions. I think Stefan, you have a couple of minutes more, hopefully, to answer
Sure, yes.
them. But of course, now I would like to say thank you to everybody. Going forward, our next sessions will be very, very digital. So we will talk about the metaverse, about artificial intelligence, chatbots, etc. We feel that these new technology, crypto, etc., blockchain, that this is something where we can bring in good impulses to Switzerland and the region. So look out for the newest session. We will inform you shortly what the next one will be in March. So anyway, we continue. Thanks a lot, everybody who has to leave. We go to Benz in Switzerland. There are a lot of SMEs with employees, approximately 35% of the population of Switzerland, with analog operations and a certain resistance of digitization. Are there any feasible actions planned to transform their analog process into digital ones?
So thank you for the question. So at the end of the day, the processes have to be digitalized by the different companies. But it is in fact true that the backbone of the Swiss economy is small and media enterprises. And what we see, many of them are highly into digitalization, but not all. There is a big threat when it comes to cybersecurity, which is probably one of the biggest risks for SME companies. We do have a very strong focus on regionalization. So kind of make Digital Switzerland as an organization more federate, to have a local or regional presence. And the aim or the reason why we go regional is exactly to get better access to small and medium businesses as well, to help them on their digital journeys, not kind of in terms of providing services to them, but to enable them to really do that and to make them aware of what is needed. So this is basically our approach, but we are not a services company that helps them to do the final project at the end of the day.
Well, in addition to this, of course, we are very good in competitiveness in Switzerland, and I think the market will just force smaller companies to digitize, and that's the truth, I guess. There's not many businesses that can survive without going digital.
Yeah.
And I guess this is why we need all the talents in Switzerland, and also, by the way, lots of talents from Central Eastern Europe. Now, Laszlo asked, what is the industry digitization status in Switzerland? So of probably the industry and
the manufacturing. So I think when we talk manufacturing, because I mentioned that at the beginning, Switzerland is a very, very expensive country, and you saw that in one of the criteria as well. So being so expensive, there is always the risk that industries leave the country and produce somewhere where it's cheaper. For those companies who do not follow such a strategy, they need to be extremely strong in digitalization, digitalize their processes, digitalize the whole manufacturing supply chain and the whole thing. And this is for those companies who still operate in Switzerland. There are some very good examples. They are highly digitalized, and we see the Swiss manufacturing industry being leading in that respect. And it is very interesting to see that other industries, even banks, sometimes use industry as examples to learn from them. Again, this is basically otherwise, without digitalization, these companies would not be able to produce in our expensive country.
And maybe one fact, sorry that I always come with these facts, but if you look at the manufacturing industry, Switzerland has actually gained manufacturing in the last 10 years. When you look around into Germany, Italy, France, they have lost manufacturing in their countries. Of course, we have lost jobs in this, but actually the value of it has increased because we go digital. Okay, so we have Lasse, what is that? We got that one. Are there some research groups to join forces?
So we do have interest groups in the area of digital health. As I said, we have an interest group in the area of cybersecurity. We have a public affairs committee. We have some infrastructure groups as well. We do have, and we are thinking about, and you mentioned that before, Oliver, new technologies like metaverse, like AI, especially after the announcement of ChatGPT. So we are looking into that as well, and we will create more interest groups as we go forward, because following the strategy and work on those criteria where we are not strong today, we must not forget to focus on new upcoming technologies and trends that we need to we need to jump on early in advance in order not to lose the focus there as well.
Great. How can embassies support Digital Switzerland?
So thank you for that question. I had a presentation to the Swiss ambassadors during the ambassadors conference last summer. I need to think about what I told them, but clearly I said the ambassadors, they should actually bring all the good stuff that we do in the country outside and show what we do. At the same time, also bring us back where examples where they see, hey, a country is leading somewhere and what we can learn from these countries as well. So we see the embassies and the ambassadors and the embassy personnel really kind of, at the interface between Switzerland and the countries in terms of bringing our message across, but also giving us feedback on where they feel other countries are more advanced than we are.
Good. An anonymous person says, amazing presentation. Thanks so much, Stefan. I'm curious to learn why the Digital Switzerland is not supported by government. As this is a high priority in many ways, are there other organizations from government side that drive the digitization forward in Switzerland?
So maybe let me be a little bit sarcastic. It is in fact true, Digital Switzerland, we do not get one single Swiss franc from the government today. And I always say the farmers get like 6 billion or something like that to protect an industry that should probably be a little bit changed as well. And the backbone of the wealth of the future does not get one thing. And if you look around Singapore, for instance, then they spend 800 million Singapore dollars on digitalization, supporting organizations as we are. Now we are, and we want to change that. I'm a liberal, so I'm not calling for government funding all the time, but we have actually supported a political called initiative in Bern, which is actually developing a legislation that will help to finance or give initial financing to what they call digital lighthouse projects. Not full finance, but initial finance that they can get started. And we are in very close discussions with the federal government and the chancellor, the councillor of to really see which project makes sense in case this legislation goes through. It's in the parliament. We expect it to be approved in the spring session of the federal parliament.
Well, I'll give you another example of, well, this is very typical for Switzerland. We don't get much government support for things that the private sector can do ourselves, which includes our chamber. So even our chamber, Switzerland, and we are not as important as Digital Switzerland, but in terms of trying to help the businesses and even science, as I always mentioned, and the society, as you might know, we have 1 million people of the diaspora of Central Eastern Europe living in Switzerland. So there's lots of stuff we can actually do to facilitate exchange between the region. We don't get a cent. And so anyway, become member, so help us and even give us good ideas. We have Martin. Martin, hi to Czechia. Stefan, thank you very much for your presentation. My question is, which are the bottlenecks of your further development? Where could Czech companies jump into your projects in Czechia? Do you seek for growth in Central Eastern Europe region? Thank you.
Yep. So we do not have an active growth strategy outside Switzerland because this is just for capacity reasons. So therefore, we are not looking for outside Switzerland members, but we do have many members that are headquartered outside Switzerland and do have presence in the country. This is basically what it is. So, but again, as I said before, we have a person who deals with international things. This is more, I would not say not reactive, it's a little bit more, but we do not have the capacity at the moment to grow outside Switzerland, except that we say we tell our story, what I do today, to really motivate to kind of initiate similar initiative in other countries as well.
Very good. I think you guys can't use the chat. I'm sorry about that. If you want to really look at the webpage of Digital Switzerland and who their members are, this is a super example of kind of, you know, how you get decision makers from academia, from states. They also have cities, they have companies. So really a powerful self-organized organization that because of that can have impact, I think, Stefan. All right, do you have, and then we don't need any more questions because Stefan is hungry. You guys are too. But anyway, thanks a lot. This is very interactive. I love it. Do you have some direction to give for startups looking to improve carbon footprint of construction industry in Switzerland?
I think it's a very hot topic. It's not on me to give directions to them, but more to motivate them. I think the whole carbon topic and the whole sustainability topic is on top of each and every manufacturing company. And I think if as a startup, if you can provide services that help the manufacturing company to kind of make a huge step towards carbon neutrality, but even more so, and this is a focus of many manufacturing companies, that they say we provide products that help our customers on the carbon neutrality goal, then I think these companies are warmly welcomed by most, if not all, of the manufacturing companies in the country.
And I learned something digitally. Now the chat is open, but that was a bit late. Sorry about that. So Clemens Kretschmer is asking, are not the Swiss cantons blocking such Swiss initiatives, or at least makes it much more difficult to make Swiss-wide decision regarding digitization?
Thank you for that question. The answer is yes, but not the cantons, because this is bad will, but more the Switzerland being a highly federated countries makes it very, very difficult and slowly moving when it comes to really addressing nationwide topics. This is absolutely agree. They are not blocking actively and not because with bad will, but more like because they do claim to be in the driving seat for certain activities, and the coordination effort for us is much higher. However, we are in discussions as part of our regionalization approach with many cantons. Even some of the cantons ask us, what would you recommend to us to focus when it comes to digital transformation? So it is more system driven rather by the cantons themselves.
Okay, so Ben says, from this comes my second question. To change human behavior and certain habits, in our case, shifting to digital operations are challenging tasks. Does the strategic plan consist actions we focus on changing those habits, sort of as a soft landing into the digital world?
It's a very important point. So we fight a lot of kind of avoid digital leaving people digitally behind. So digital inclusion is one of the crucial topic of our organization as well when it comes to making digitalization accepted by the public, and therefore, of course, to kind of help people understand that digitalization is not a threat, and focus on digital processes is not actually a threat to their jobs. Is very important. So what we try, the message we try to give and also show examples is that getting rid of boring type of work, but then also get the freedom and also the flexibility to get into much more sophisticated work that digitalization cannot fulfill today. So this is basically the message that we try to give, but there is no common recipe on that.
Good. The last two questions. You mentioned that there will be a shortage of 38,000 digital specialists in Switzerland by the end of 28. That was, I think. Is Digital Switzerland somehow involved in talent acquisition?
No, we are not. We are not a talent thing, but we are supporting and driving various activities to kind of address the problem. And the root cause is that we do have not enough people actually focusing on tech education and tech professions. So we do a lot here. Give you an example. We are working very closely with an organization that is called Allianz, the digital education organization that is really driving the apprenticeship model more into technology as well. And we support them very strongly with even with financial contributions, but also with a close collaboration. And of course, having this agreement with the European Union on free people movement, Switzerland is very open for talent outside Switzerland as well. Also, and CEE is a very important source of excellent talents coming into Switzerland, and has always been. But this is not the only and cannot be the only answer to address the challenge.
Maybe I need to jump on this one very quickly in our role, because we feel we get so many requests of companies in Switzerland looking for IT talents or finding solutions for processes. We are kind of like getting stronger in this. We try to really facilitate this exchange. So we go as far as trying to create an IT and BPO matchmaking event next year, where we are trying to bring together, the strong IT and business process outsourcing companies from Central Eastern Europe, all the way from Estonia down to Albania, to Switzerland, and then work with the large Swiss industry associations to tell their businesses that there is an opportunity to chat to people that can maybe help them, bridge this lack of talent. So we very much, if you have questions about talents, or you have talents to bring into Switzerland, or Swiss companies are looking for talent, you can always, from Central Eastern Europe, of course, you can always talk to me. And just one more sentence, many of our new members that we actually have acquired are IT companies and BPO companies from Central Eastern Europe. So we feel there's a lot of will to do more together in the future. So anyway, sorry about that, but this was I
can confirm that. I can confirm that there is a trend towards nearshoring away from offshoring, because many companies who very much offshore focused have now realized that they have probably given too much control out to countries which might end up in having too much dependency on some countries, and I see many customers or many members that are looking into options more closer to Switzerland, and their CEE as a nearshore country with excellent resources is very prominent as well.
Thanks, Stefan. We have two more questions. I need to actually, because I know Jörg. Hi, Jörg. We will answer your question as well, but that's then the last one. Then second last question. Do you know of any concept or model roadmap for SMEs to understand the process and checkpoints they should go through? Thanks for your amazing presentation.
So I do not, thank you very much for your compliment. There is no roadmap, because every company is quite individual on that. What I say is, first, for SMEs is to really look into the threat of cybersecurity. I think this is the #1 priority, to really understand what the risks are, and then having that addressed, and I think then really focusing on the rest. But there is no model kind of addressing overall digitalization for SMEs, not in Switzerland even.
Good. So Jörg asks, do you collaborate with the FDA, the digital division
Yes.
of FDA, I have to say?
We do. So I'm in very regular contact with Benedikt Wechsler, who is my counterpart in Bern, actually working for the FDA, and he is in charge of digitalization in the FDA. And he was also the one who invited me to present to the ambassadors I think it was in August or so. So yes, we are.
Cool. Stefan, many thanks. This has been the longest session yet. So you have the record. So I'm not. We should be proud about that. I'm really happy that you took the time, and I'm also happy that I hope we can collaborate in the future as well, our two organizations. And I think there is a huge interest and so much to do. I would underline that it's really complicated in Switzerland with the federalism, which is great, but probably not in digital initiatives all the time. And anyway, so thanks a lot, Stefan. Thanks everybody for listening in. And you will be informed about the next session. You will get the presentation and you can rewatch this session. So have a great day and thanks a lot again.
Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much for the invitation. Have a good rest of the day.